Hello and welcome. Namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. And coming up in the next 30 minutes. India and Pakistan agreed to a ceasefire effective from 5 p.m. IST after Rawalpindi's DGMO called his Indian counterpart. India's Foreign Secretary says instructions given to both sides to implement it. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also says understanding has been reached, adding India has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. And India's armed forces say they will adhere to the understanding but will remain fully prepared and vigilant. Any misadventure will be met with strength. And that's the big story at the moment. India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire with immediate effect. This ceasefire has already come into effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time today. That's 5 p.m. India's government has announced the ceasefire deal between the two countries. India's Foreign Secretary, in fact, made that announcement, and he said the Director General of Military Operations Pakistan called his counterpart in India. That was a little earlier than 5 p.m., almost 1.5 hours earlier. And both the sides have agreed to stop all firing and military action at land, air and sea. DGMOs of both India and Pakistan will now hold talks on the 12th of May, which is Monday. The External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, in fact, now has said thereafter, India consistently maintained firm, uncompromising stance against terror in all its forms and manifestations. So, India has clearly said that this is a victory of India's fight against terrorism.
I have a very brief statement to make. Following that, as you know, there will be a briefing by my colleagues from the military. The Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan called the Director General of Military Operations of India at 15:35 hours earlier this afternoon. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time today. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to this understanding. The Directors General of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours.
So the call was made at 1:35 p.m. Indian Standard Time by Pakistan's DGMO to his Indian counterpart, and a ceasefire agreement was reached. It has been put into effect at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Now, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has written on X, and I quote, India and Pakistan have today worked out an understanding on stoppage of firing and military action. India has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. It will continue to do so. End quote. Also, a joint press briefing of the Ministry of External Affairs and the Indian Army was held in New Delhi soon after. Commodore Raghu R. Naya, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh and Colonel Sophia Qureshi held that press conference after India and Pakistan agreed to a ceasefire. Now, while addressing that press conference, Commodore Raghu R. Naya said that the three forces have been instructed to follow this understanding. He said the understanding reached to stop all military activities on land, air and sea.
You're aware there's an understanding that has been reached to stop all military activities at sea, on the air and on the land. And the Indian Navy, Indian Army and the Indian Air Force have been instructed to adhere to this understanding. Since the tragic events at Pahalgam, you're aware that our responses have been measured and very responsible. Details of these have been shared with you over the past few days through our various press briefings.
Well, joining us now to talk about these developments, ceasefire between India and Pakistan after what had happened when India struck Pakistan, terror bases in Pakistan, and the kind of tensions that had ensued. Now a ceasefire. Kanwal Sibal, former Foreign Secretary. Good evening to you. Ambassador Sibal, what do you make of what's happened really in terms of this ceasefire being agreed to at the initiative of Pakistan? Do you feel a sense of relief, a sense of vindication, or is it a sense of triumph as well? Pal Singh joining us from very close to the international border in Punjab. Amrit, what do you think is now the next step in terms of ensuring that India's fight against terrorism keeps succeeding in the manner that it has done?
All right, Gautam, before I answer your question, let me first give you an update on the ground. The skies are quiet now. All through the day, we could hear blasts, we could see projectiles, could see drones coming in, which were being neutralized by the AD guns of the army and the military, which were deployed here at a little depth from the border, and they were being neutralized. Though there was debris falling, and we were getting calls from villagers from different parts of the bordering districts of Punjab, where I am, about one or the other drone or a projectile, the debris of that being found. But at 5, suddenly the skies went quiet. At that time, this information hadn't trickled in. The official announcement hadn't been made that a ceasefire between the two sides had been reached. The Foreign Secretary a little later came on air and announced that understanding between the two countries has been achieved, that all military action and firing, whether be it on land, sea or air, be stopped. And it actually has stopped. Now about 46 hours, 25 minutes deadline has been set. Basically on the 12th of May, the DGMOs will speak again. Today at 1:35, the DGMO, 1:35 p.m., that's 13:35 hours, the DGMO of Pakistan called up the DGMO of Indian military and asked him that we want to go in for a ceasefire and stop military action. The Indian DGMO's response was
We seem to be having trouble linking up with Amritpal at the moment, but as he was mentioning very clearly, he is in Gurdaspur, very close to the international border, and he said through the day he could see, and the people in the area could also see various military actions being taken by the other side, and India diffusing them, India really ensuring that no harm comes to its people, employing all sorts of air defense and other means. And at 5 p.m. itself, as Amritpal has observed right there on the international border, everything, all the hostilities did indeed come to a stop, and that's a very clear indication that the ceasefire is in operation. Amrit, could you add more to it?
Yeah. Then the Foreign Secretary came on air and said, chronicled what happened. The DGMO of Pakistan called the Indian DGMO at 1:35 in the afternoon and said, we want to stop this military campaign. The Indian DGMO's response was, our response has been retaliatory, has been in response to what you've been doing. On the 7th of May, the strikes that took place were on terror targets. We did not attack your military. We did not attack your economic installations. We did not attack your civilian areas. In fact, you did that. You started attacking our civilian areas. You started attacking our military installations. In response to that, for a tit-for-tat action in the same domain, with the same intensity, we attacked your military targets. As the spokespersons of the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force made it clear in the briefing this evening that there was a disinformation campaign that S-400s, stationed at Adhampur were completely destroyed. Adhampur is an air base in Punjab. Air bases of Sirsa, Pathankot, Bhuj, Nalia, they were completely destroyed. All that is false. Those are operational bases. In fact, they shared details of how they had inflicted harm on the Pakistani military installations, including 4 of their air bases, Skardu, Sargoda, Boleri, and 1 more. And also multiple locations, their air defense systems, their radar systems, and command and control structures along the border. on the Pakistani side were destroyed by the Indian military, and a considerable damage was inflicted by the Indian military in response, as a retaliation, not as an aggression. So when the Indian DGMO told the Pakistani DGMO that you used to want to stop it, we will stop it. You want to carry it on, we will carry it on in the same domain and in the same intensity. The Pakistani DGMO said we want to bring this to an end. So the skies went silent at 5 p.m., exact 5 p.m. The skies here, at least where I am in Punjab, and also my colleagues tell me in Jammu and Kashmir, Rajasthan and Gujarat went completely silent. Now, for the 12th, on the 12th of May at 12 in the noon, the DGMOs will speak again. I think this window has been put to observe that Pakistan follows the ceasefire that it agreed to. And so that's what's transpired, Gautam.
Okay, just stay with me, Amrit. Let me go back to Mr. Sibal again. Mr. Sibal, clearly, can one conclude from this that with the kind of actions that India took to ensure that A, it fights terrorism from where it is emanating, and then of course since Pakistan was being mischievous, it was indulging in misadventure, India responded in a very firm and strong manner, and that compelled Pakistan to reach out?
Yes, that is quite clear, that Pakistan was being punished for the terrorism that it has conducted against us, not in this instance of Pahalgam, but for a couple of decades before, right from mid-1980s. And we have been victims of this. The Mumbai terror attack was, in a sense, the apogee of this terror onslaught. And yet at that time, we didn't take any action. We resumed dialogue with Pakistan after a few months. But this time, the government decided that enough was enough, that we can't give Pakistan this latitude that at the time of its own choosing, whether for internal political reasons or for external reasons, to disturb the process of normalization in the Kashmir, that they will resort to a major terrorist attack and win some political mileage at home for the Pakistani armed forces, and at the same time disrupt the process of normalization in Jammu and Kashmir. That this kind of latitude that they have is no longer tolerable to India. And this time we took an extremely bold step of actually targeting the main hideouts of terrorists, or the sites of the terrorist organizations, jihadi organizations, especially Muridke and Bahawalpur, which prompted, of course, Pakistan to react, as was quite normal. Otherwise, Pakistan would have lost face very, very badly, especially its chief of army staff, who's a rabid Islamist and is responsible for the crisis that has occurred. So they have received a lot of punishment. And I think the Americans have played a role, maybe Saudi Arabia has played a role in counseling them to agree to a ceasefire, because all the friends of Pakistan are always worried that in a prolonged conflict with India, if Pakistan may break up, because it's the Pakistan military that holds the country together. And if the Pakistan military is defeated and is subject to this kind of punishment and loses prestige, then the vociferous tendencies in Pakistan, which are already visible in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and the activity of the Pakistan Taliban from Afghanistan, that these internal centrifugal forces may actually gain strength, and the future of Pakistan may be at stake. So maybe they have therefore very strongly advised Pakistan to go in for a ceasefire. And since right from the start, we said we are not in an escalatory mode. We have made our point. We have attacked the hideouts and the centers of jihadi organizations in Pakistan. And we will stop there if Pakistan does not react. And the rest of the story, you know, so they've come to their senses. But of course, the larger question still remains. What do we do with Pakistan's complicity with terror? Will they give it up? Will they step back? Will they publicly disown these forces, try them, jail them, hang them if necessary, and send Dawood Ibrahim back to us if they want to make a gesture of importance to us? I think it's all in the air. So long as this chief of army staff is there at the head of the Pakistani armed forces, I'm a bit skeptical that they will sincerely act
Well,
on the terrorists.
those questions are tough to answer in the immediate, Mr. Sybil, but I'm sure they will come up, and we will find answers to those questions as well. But let me now bring in Major General Dhruv C. Katoch, retired Director, India Foundation as well. He's with us in our studio. Thank you for joining us, sir. And could I ask you, because earlier at the start I asked Mr. Sybil about whether he feels a sense of relief, or he feels that India has been vindicated or even triumphant in the kind of success its campaign against terrorism has had with this ceasefire initiated by Pakistan. Let me phrase it conversely and ask you, should Pakistan now feel a sense of relief? Should it feel that somehow it's gotten off the hook, because it hasn't? There are a lot of things that still need to be sorted out. Pakistan, because India took a lot of non-military measures as well before we hit Pakistan, the terror camps that were there, 4 of them in mainland Pakistan. So it is definitely not off the hook, is it?
No, thank you. No, they're certainly not off the hook. In fact, I think Pakistan's problems are going to really start now. All that has happened is that a ceasefire is in effect. Pakistan has been shown to the world as being the perpetrators of terrorism. I think it is quite clear now that they had a hand in Pahalgam. It was they who instigated the terrorists who carried out this attack, and they had sheltered those terrorists. Now, you see, it's very interesting. When I've analyzed this entire business, what has happened over the past few days, after the attack, India took its own time, we planned it out, and we hit those 9 camps of the terrorist groups, their headquarters. And Pakistan wanted to show to their own public opinion that they're in a position to retaliate and take counteraction against India. So on 2 successive nights, they carried out attacks with drones and with missiles. In the first night, 100% of their attacks were repulsed. But the counter which India carried out to that, they lost very heavily again, that their radar in Lahore was destroyed. And in the second night, when they repeated it, the same result was there. They lost second time. I think Pakistan came to the realization that they are going to lose very, very heavily. They could not penetrate India's air defense system, but on the other hand, India could penetrate theirs. From the Indian side, I think the the foreign secretary had made it very clear, Mr. Mishri made it very clear, that we are not going to escalate. But he also gave a second statement. He said that each time Pakistan escalates the matter, we will respond in equal measure. That is the point. So when Pakistan escalated, India saw what they were doing, and then the military responded based on what Pakistan had done. And again, Pakistan lost out. I think their chief will have a lot of explaining to do to his public. Their prime minister will have a lot of explaining to do to his public. And I see a lot of churning taking place in Pakistan's polity in the coming few months.
A lot of churning taking place in Pakistan's polity, which has already been witnessing a lot of churn, even without what has happened in the last few days. Let me bring in Mr. Sybil again. Mr. Sybil, now pretty soon it will all be in the domain of diplomacy, although the DGMOs will talk again on Monday. Now, how should things be taken forward by India, with Pakistan, because we still have to ensure that the kind of things that Pakistan did in Pahalgam are never repeated again?
Well, on that, I think we should be clear in our mind that no country has succeeded in its war on terror. The United States conducted this war for more than 2 decades, and it could not succeed. And the unfortunate thing is that Pakistan has been at the center of many of these international terror activities, both in our neighborhood and beyond. And Pakistan has never been adequately punished, not sanctioned. None of its leaders, military leaders and others who have been involved in this have been sanctioned. Yes, some jihadi organizations have been sanctioned, and that's about it all. So Pakistan being weaned away from terror on a durable basis will come about only if there is a change of regime in Pakistan at present, and also a change of mindset in Pakistan. So long as they continue to agitate the Kashmir issue, call it the jugular vein of Pakistan, try to play the religious card against us, try to create sectarian tensions in India, try to destabilize the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. Unless they give up that view, that thinking, those policies, I think we will have lull in terms of relations between India and Pakistan, but things can again get complicated in the future. Now, I can't first, I'm skeptical that Pakistan can change its colors. Its entire foundation is built on religious hate of India. And that unless there is a cleanup in Pakistan, I think we'll have to be very, very alert. And the second lesson we've learned this time is that we have to become much stronger militarily. After all, we have a long border to protect. We can't protect every inch of it. The disparity in power between us and Pakistan should be so great that after what they've seen we have done this time, they'll be doubly careful not to provoke a terrorist attack, fearing Indian retaliation. Now they'll continue to be armed by China, by Turkey and others, but we have to develop our indigenous capabilities to a point where we are not dependent on any country and can take independent, free decisions based on our own internal strengths to counter the menace that will come from Pakistan. These are the two lessons that we should keep in mind.
General Katoch, what do you make of what Mr. Sibal said? He's our former Foreign Secretary, you former high-ranking soldier, officer. What is your response, sir?
You know what Ambassador Sibal said, I totally agree with him. Pakistan is not going to change. So there are a few things which I want to, my thoughts on the subject which I've been thinking for a very long time. One, up to 2014, or rather I would say even up to 2015, we had a policy of dissuasion against Pakistan as far as terrorist attacks were concerned. We used various soft measures, we tried to protect our own borders, but we found that nothing else worked. Then what happened? We come to two strikes which took place, when they struck at Uri and when they struck at Pulwama. And then we changed our policy from dissuasion to deterrence. And that was the time the surgical strike was carried out. And we also had the Balakot strike. And it appears that, when Pahalgam took place, it appears that deterrence has not worked. So I think now we need a strategic shift, and it has to be a policy of compellence. They have to be compelled. And it has to be a mixture of both kinetic and non-kinetic means. The non-kinetic means was started as soon as Pahalgam took place within 48 hours when the Indus Water Treaties was revoked. I think one thing which we should be very clear about, do not change that revocation. It has to remain for 20 years at least to ensure that Pakistan doesn't revert back to terrorism. That is one. Number two, don't get emotional and start people-to-people contact again. It won't work. We need to be very clear. The visas have been stopped. Keep it like that for another 20 years. The diplomats in both the countries. We have taken out the military attaches there.
Yes, you've scaled things down.
I think that status should remain. So, the soft measures which we have taken, that should remain. On the military measures, what Ambassador Sibal has said, I totally agree. China and Turkey will continue to arm Pakistan, but I think that really won't matter. We are much stronger militarily. Let Pakistan be armed by anybody. But the message should be clear. You see, simply having the weapon is not enough. You've got to have the will to use it, the will which was displayed after Pahalgam, where the Prime Minister himself said that we are going to take action. So, a combination of both military and kinetic and non-kinetic measures is what is going to force compellence. We should put it down very clearly in our strategy. This is what we are going to do. And then after that, when Pakistan doesn't behave, then put that compellence in force him to behave. And Pakistan has to stop with immediate effect their policy of giving support to terrorism as an instrument of the foreign policy.
My colleague Amrit Pal is still with us, joining us from Gurdaspur. Amit, you've been listening to Mr. Sibal as well as General Katoch. But I just wanted to ask you, as far as the situation on the ground is concerned, you've already told us that the ceasefire looks like it's been implemented. Things are quiet on the international border and areas around it. But what about the people themselves? Are they getting that sense that, yes, now things are going to improve, and are they, sort of adapting to that situation now?
There's a sense of relief amongst the people, among the villagers, especially the villagers at the border, because had this escalated, they were bearing the brunt of it every day in their fields. They were finding drones, houses were being attacked, the debris was falling on their houses. So they were scared that if this gets escalated, the people on the border bear the brunt. So there'll be displacement, there'll be all kinds of, if it had gone into a full-blown geared war or full-blown war, shortages, hoarding, etc. had started already. People had started withdrawing excessive money from the ATMs, etc., as happens in these kinds of situations. That panic has eased for the moment. But there is skepticism, as both the ambassador and general have been saying, that people like them are skeptical. People here on the ground think that Pakistan cannot be trusted. They've done it time and again. So they're saying that we'll have to wait and watch while we are relieved for the moment. But what if they're looking at tonight? They're saying the 48-hour window is crucial because they are the ones who bear the real brunt. The military fights back as a military, but or diplomats do diplomacy. The people sitting in Delhi in offices do statecraft. But here, people on the ground are poor villagers who bear the brunt of it. So they are relieved at the moment, but they are still skeptical. Even the common man is skeptical that can Pakistan be trusted, and how long before Pakistan again goes down the misadventurism alley.
Well, Amrit, we've seen in the course of this entire period of crisis how India's military as well as its diplomats have worked in tandem to ensure that Pakistan basically got compelled to make that call and seek a ceasefire. Now, as far as these measures, that non-kinetic measures that have been taken against Pakistan, they still remain in force. That much is pretty clear. And Mr. Sibal, what do you think should be India's course of action now where those measures are concerned? Of course, again, the proviso being we have to be on the lookout and be watchful and vigilant for the next 48 hours as well, till the time the two DGMOs once again talk.
See, once you take steps like the ones we have taken on the Indus Waters Treaty or on reducing the size of missions, closing down the offices of their defense representatives in their mission in New Delhi. These steps, some of them can be reversed, especially the operation of the missions, but it will take a long time because we have to test the situation on the ground, how much change we detect in Pakistani thinking, what are the kind of solid, verifiable measures they take to reassure us and other countries that they have discarded using the terror as a weapon. Whether the discourse on Kashmir changes, we will see at the UN General Assembly in September this year, because that is the pulpit they use to attack India. We have to see what they say on Kashmir Day. Shahbaz Sharif and Nawaz Sharif and others, all the Pakistani prime ministers have been extremely aggressive when it comes to making anti-India rants on Kashmir Day. What is the nature of their propaganda? How much they want to mobilize once again parts of the Islamic world, the OIC, to do propaganda against us? Whether what they have announced that they are walking out of a similar agreement, which effectively they have walked out. Whether they will keep talking about self-determination in Jammu and Kashmir and UN Security Council resolution, I can't see a change in that in the foreseeable future, because if that happens, it means a change in the power structures in Pakistan. It means that coming to the fore of people who are fed up with the situation, who realize that Pakistan's future doesn't lie in this direction, and they have to change direction and open up a genuine dialogue with India and relationship with India. So I don't think in the foreseeable future we are going to see a rollback of some of the steps that we have taken. We have to wait and watch, and then see what happens.
Yes, and General Katoch, in terms of again what has happened through the course of the 3 days that these hostilities took place, and now there's a stoppage of firing and military action. There is a lot that Pakistan still has to answer for. You've mentioned that the non-kinetic measures should be kept in place. That is completely in India's hand. What more should India do to ensure that Pakistan stays on this kind of track where it is compliant with the kind of behavior that would be conducive to peace?
You know, I think what we have done for the past 10 years at least, I'm aware of, we have isolated Pakistan on the international stage. I think that process diplomatically must continue. That is one. So a lot of measures have been taken over the past 10 years. Don't go soft on any of those measures. Don't give Pakistan a way out. They have to change. That is one. Politically, the pressure must maintain again on Pakistan. There is one thing, you know, while I agree with what Ambassador Sibbal says, but in my own view, it is not simply the government which has to change. You know, it's not just the civil government. Their education syllabus has to change. Right from the junior classes, their children are being taught that Muslims have got the right to rule over the world. They can kill the Hindus. I mean, the children are actually being taught that. When that level of hate is being taught to school children, the whole society is radicalized. That is why I give the period of 20 years. You have to change the school syllabus, you have to change the habits and attitudes, and wait for 20 years for society to change. It is not simply a question of the government. In my own view, I think the present chief's tenure is going to be very, very limited. Munir's time has come. He is on the way out. I think Shehbaz Sharif's time has also come. Both these people are equally guilty of what happened in Pahalgam. That is the army chief and Shehbaz Sharif. I also hold the DG ISI, General Malik, equally guilty. The blame lies with these three. At some point of time, they have to go. That will be, in a sense, a justice for the Pahalgam victims. We still haven't got that justice because these three people were involved. But on a larger plane, you know, you have to change Pakistani society. And how does that society change, which has been radicalized over the years? So it is going to be a long haul. But from India's side, we have got too many bleeding hearts who tell, no, now we get back to the dosti and that love affair and all that. It is not going to work. I have seen this society. You have to compel them. That is why I use the word compellence. And once, compellence and 20 years. These two things have to go together. Then after that, I think we can have a common understanding and work together. Not till then.
Right.
Gautam.
Right. Jessica Taneja, my colleague, was attending that briefing that took place where this announcement was made of stoppage of firing and military action. Jessica, do you have more in terms of how this entire agreement was really reached, and what does it really entail in a couple of days' time if the ceasefire stands? I beg your pardon, the firing and military actions stands.
That's correct. Stoppage of firing is a term that has been used by the statement put out by the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, and perhaps for a reason, Gautam, because this is, of course, looking at the situation right now. And it has been said with a lot of caution that a ceasefire, of course, would mean that, there was something to that extent to suggest that had to be a ceasefire between the two. Well, not the case here, at least, because this is just stoppage of all firing and the understanding that the Army, Air Force, as well as the Navy has at this point. And frankly, there were no third-party mediators, is what the MEA sources also point out, and also to the effect that there were no conditions at this point. There are no post conditions, and there are no times decided for the next talks, etc., or where there'll be a mutual ground. You've seen the readout that has come from the United States, of course, suggesting all kinds of things. But when you speak to officials here, they seem pretty clear about the fact that they're still going to wait it out to an extent. Yes, there has been stoppage of all firing, but at the same time, if there is an escalation, if there is a response, if there is some misadventure that Pakistan indulges in, well, it will be met with force, as it has been, because strategic resolve is limited in a sense where India will not be sitting back and looking at Pakistan continue with its terrorist funding activities while India patiently waits and sends dossiers not just to Pakistan but across the world. It will strike strategic terror targets in case it faces another threat.
And this should be seen in tandem with the view that was already presented earlier, that any further act of terror would be treated as an act of war as well. So that too would still stand. Jessica?
Well, yes, and because any kind of escalation, would entail, and the fact of the matter is, Gautam, from the very beginning, the Indian side has been saying categorically and persistently that it's the Pakistanis who are the original escalators and not India. And frankly, whatever has been the response from the Indian side, it has only been for their self-defense and their protection, and of course threatening the territorial sovereignty of the country. So in that particular sense, it is perhaps the moment to see in how the next few hours are going to be, whether they're going to be few drone strikes, which of course have been thwarted by our air defense systems, and mostly of course again drones loitering around to gather more information on military and air force bases. So when that has also been taken care very well by the Indian armed forces, including our brilliant air defense systems that we have in place, but at the same time, any kind of escalatory measure, of course, takes us back to the conversation where we didn't want to reach.
Right. If I could bring in Mr. Sibal again. Mr. Sibal, one thing that has been observed through the course of this period that has now been brought to an end with the stoppage of firing and military action is the kind of reaction and the kind of reports that a section of the Western media particularly, but foreign media in general, put out, where it seemed that it was swallowing the line fed by Pakistan hook, line and sinker. And India has been putting out the message that it was Pakistan which was the aggressor, and India only responded to what it had to face, to what it was confronted with. What more? Is there anything more that India can really do to tell the world that this is really the side of the story that is correct?
Well, the Western media has traditionally been unsympathetic to India, even hostile to India on a variety of issues. They've always supported Pakistan. They've always supported Pakistan on India-Pakistan issues right from the time of the partition of India. Especially the Kashmir issue. And they have created a narrative of the rights and wrongs of the Kashmir issue dating from that period, which has become part of the understanding in the Western world of what the issues between India and Pakistan are. There is a soft corner for Pakistan for a variety of reasons, one of them being to keep a point of pressure on India. Let us not delude ourselves that this is not the case. It is very much the case. Pakistan has been the epicenter of terrorism for a long time, but it has never been sanctioned properly by the West, despite the fact that they have also targeted the West, including the United States of America. Look at the differential in treatment between Iran and Pakistan on terrorism issues. Washington Post, New York Times, Economist, Financial Times, and all the Western media have a particular line to take. They won't even describe terrorist attacks in India as terrorist attacks. Even the Pahalgam attack is attacked by militants. They don't want even to use the word terror.
Absolutely
but
shameful.
When it comes to some other countries, even it's Iran or Russia or whatever, they very freely use the word terror. So it's a very selective approach that they have. We are not going to be able to change that because the information flows, global information flows, are actually controlled by the Western media. And even if our papers or our governments make statements, it will have a very limited impact because either it will not be carried in toto or ignored or given a slant. So it's not an easy battle that is there before us. We have to accept this as a fact and be confident that we have a point of view. We have the right on our side. Pakistan is a terrorist state and we'll deal with it as such. And if they conduct terrorist attacks against us in the future, we'll react very sharply. Yes, we can be more proactive in going to the media and explaining our case, but you will always see that either they'll equate the two sides and give both points of view, or in the general summing up of the situation, you will find a slant towards the Pakistani point of view. Even in this case, they've all forgotten what the origin of this problem was, the attack in Pahalgam. And even look at there. Now they have bought hook, line and sinker the Pakistani argument that where is the proof? But if they did their homework and looked at what Pakistan has done in the past, and even when we have involved them in investigations, they have not cooperated at all. So when a serial murderer has committed 10 murders, and then when the 11th murder is committed, you say, no, maybe he did not commit the 11th murder. I mean, this is to buy time, to give Pakistan a pass, and mix up the issue so much that the right is not on the Indian side. It's not accepted that the right is on the Indian side, because they know if they did that, then India, being the stronger country, will get more emboldened to put more pressure on Pakistan, which they don't want to see happen. That's where the problem is.
So we have to then keep doing what they don't want to see happening, and that perhaps would be the right course to take. Let me now bring in my colleague Ankush Sharma, joining us from Jammu. Ankush, we saw the people in Jammu and also in Kashmir, the entire Union Territory, facing the brunt really of what was happening the last 3 days since India's action in POJK as well as in Pakistan against those terror sites. What is the scenario now after 5 p.m., particularly when this stoppage of action, military action, took place?
See, I must say the people of Jammu and Kashmir are welcoming the step of the government which took this evening, and I spoke with the individuals of Jammu region. They have said that we welcome this step of the government, and they are now outside from their homes having discussions in the streets. They are saying that we want to live in the open air, and we are now very happy with the decision of this made by the government. And I must say that after this decision, the incidents of targeting each other on cross-border shelling, it is totally stopped, and there is no reports of firing incidents right now after 5 p.m. this evening. But the people who live nearby the border areas, they know the actual worth of this decision made by the government today, because people who live nearby the border areas were taken shelter in the camps, and they are now can move back to their homeland, and they can open their establishments, their businesses. So this is a big relief for not only for Jammu and Kashmir people, but rest of the country. So now, as I talked with some of individuals who also said that we welcome this step of the government, and we want to salute our armed forces, and this is a truly a victory of Indian forces of nationalists of India.
Indeed, indeed. The situation was brought to the point where Pakistan had to reach out to India and seek this stoppage of firing. General Katoch, clearly only 4 hours, about 4 hours have passed since that stoppage of firing. The understanding that's been reached between India and Pakistan, and the window that we've taken to be watchful is about 48 hours. And that is a very rational approach, would you say?
Yes, I think it's a very rational approach, but very frankly, I don't see the ceasefire being broken by either side. Firstly, India won't break it, and I think Pakistan doesn't have the power or the will to break it, specifically because President Trump has told them to. That, President Trump has pressurized Pakistan, and I think it has also got something to do with the IMF loan, the $1 billion+ which the first tranche, which they're getting now.
But do you feel that in this period that we had the firing and military action taking place, we've degraded Pakistan to the extent that it had to reach out to India, its forces got demoralized, and then they had to reach out to India that bas karo?
I think the very fact that their DGMO reached out gives a very clear indication that they have been degraded to a very large extent. But the evidence was there on the ground. Every single attack of theirs through drones and missiles was intercepted by India's air defense. And that is very clear. They, not just for us, I mean, even the Pakistanis admitted it. And when India responded, they could, we broke through their defense and we hit the target we wanted. And this has happened not just once, it happened on 2 consecutive nights. I think that would have conveyed the message to the Pakistanis because, the escalatory ladder was going up. We had started hitting their airfields. What happened if we really start hitting their, their military establishments, which will really hurt them? India can, let's be straight, they would have also responded, India will also take a hit somewhere or the other. But the punishment which we would have been able to inflict on them would have been very, very costly for Pakistan. Perhaps I thought, in my view, I think they thought the better of it. And there was also additional pressure coming on them from the United States because with the US, it has more to do with money. The IMF loan, which they desperately wanted. So I think a combination of factors came up. But ultimately, this is where you see the policy of compellence taking place. India's policy, I think, was very wise. We said, okay, we won't escalate, but whatever you do, we will respond in kind. So for us, it didn't make a difference. We had nothing to gain or lose by anybody.
Okay.
But once they stopped, we stopped.
Okay.
And theoretically, even if the Americans didn't come in, if they had stopped, we would have stopped even otherwise. So it's up to them. If they wish to escalate, they know what's going to happen.
The other thing I wanted to ask Mr. Sibil is that, Pakistan, once again, apart from all the things that it did in this period, also raised the bogey of its nuclear armaments, its stockpile. And do you think that too has been proven to have come as a cropper in this period because of the kind of action that India took? And now, of course, an understanding has been reached and Pakistan couldn't do anything about it despite, the perception that it's a nuclear power. It is indeed a nuclear power. It has a proven strength there. But to what avail?
Well, this has been Pakistan's playbook right from the start. Whenever there have been tensions between the two countries, Pakistan reminds India and the world that it's a nuclear power and brandishes the possibility of things going out of hand and escalating to a nuclear showdown, which is something which they have found the Western world is very receptive to, because the narrative that they have promoted at a time when they wanted to actually scotch India's nuclear capabilities, that South Asia was the area where there was the greatest danger of a nuclear holocaust, as if India and Pakistan, especially India, was such an irresponsible country that it will create a situation where the use of nuclear weapons will become inevitable. So Pakistan has been playing on these fears, and they have been quite effective in this regard. I can tell you from my own personal experience that the Americans are very particularly receptive to this argument that this country of 200 million people, which has Islamist radical forces within it and jihadi organizations that possesses nuclear weapons, that if things went out of hand, there could be an Islamic finger on the Pakistan nuclear trigger. But my argument is that actually there is already one. I mean, the Pakistani army chief is a rabid, bigoted, anti-Indian, anti-Hindu person.
So hopefully we'll see the back of him soon.
And he's got a finger on that trigger in any case. But to answer your question, I think what has happened now with the widespread attacks of the Indian side on Pakistani air bases and other sites has demonstrated that you can have very considerable and potent military action without it being escalated to the nuclear level. So to that extent, the bogey that Pakistan has created about the potential use of nuclear weapons has been rejected. But the point still remains that Pakistan's nuclear capability is a problem for us and for the region as a whole.
General Katoch, if I could quickly bring in...
We have to pursue policies which have been...
We just have about 2 minutes left. I wanted to get General Katoch's view on this as well. General Katoch.
Yeah, actually I wanted to speak on this. The nuclear bluff we called for the first time when we did the surgical strike. That time I remember one of the ministers saying that if an Indian soldier sets even 1 foot inside Pakistan, we will nuke them. So we did the surgical strike and they kept quiet. Second time we did it in Balakot. We called the bluff the second time. I think this time it is over. That nuclear bluff will not work any longer. I remember telling some of them in one of the conversations that we were having on a TV debate. I said, we have got a no first use policy. We will never use it first. But remember, the doctrine states massive retaliation. Use of nuclear weapons by Pakistan against India will result in the destruction, the total, complete destruction of Pakistan. So I think they better be careful. Nuclear weapons are not supposed to be spoken of so casually. They are only weapons of deterrence and not to be used. And I think that lesson has gone home. Hopefully it has gone home to Pakistan. Otherwise, over a period of time, I think they will learn this lesson.
Well, let's see if Pakistan learns lessons or not, because we'll be watching very, very carefully, even through the course of the next, 44 odd hours, till again there is a talk that is held to see how we can ensure that this sort of compulsion that Pakistan has faced, that has ensured that it had to reach out to India because of the kind of action that India took, that sort of remains in place, even with the kind of non-kinetic measures that India has taken. Thank you so much for joining us to talking about this, both you, Mr. Sibal, as well as General Katoch. And I thank my colleagues as well who joined me through the course of this last 1 hour. That's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live. In fact, we are about to get more live inputs for you. I'm being told that very soon we'll have an update on what's unfolded through the course of today, and we will be bringing a further update in terms of what our Indian government has had to say and do about the kind of circumstances that we're faced with now, that hostilities have ceased. There is a stoppage of firing between India and Pakistan effective from 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time, because it was Pakistan that reached out to India to tell India that this needs to end at this moment because of the kind of action that India took ever since Pakistan indulged in much misadventure, misinformation, after India hit out at terror camps, 9 of them, 4 of them in mainland Pakistan, apart from POJK. So this is something that has emerged as a result of all those actions, and India is strong, India is resilient, India will be vigilant as well, because the next few hours are crucial. There is, of course, there are people who feel that they can now step out of their homes in areas which had been targeted by Pakistan, and they are also being cautious at the same time, because Pakistan is a factory of lies as well. We've seen that even in these recent few days, and it is very difficult to take Pakistan at its own word. Always you have to take it with a pinch of salt. General Katoch, your thoughts now on what we're about to see when we have further talks take place between India and Pakistan?
I don't think talks are going to... you mean with the at the
yes,
DGMO
with the
level?
DGMOs, yes.
Yeah, because you see at the DGMO level, yes, they'll certainly talk, but the government-to-government talks are not going to take place. There is no reason to talk to Pakistan based on the government's policy, which I totally support, that talks and terror cannot go hand in hand. But as far as the DGMO level is concerned, I think the next round of discussion, once this holds for 48 hours, is a pullback of troops. Some, from the Pakistani side, I think 2 divisions have actually been pumped into the J&K sector. I'm not sure of the exact number, but I believe about 2 divisions have come in. And there would have been some reinforcements also from the Indian side. So I think now it will be a pullback. And to that extent, in my own personal view, I think it is going to hold now.
Okay. We're about to get some fresh images now of a critical meeting that has taken place. In fact, let me ask my panel to play out those images as well. there you have it. That's a critical meeting that is taking place. Prime Minister Modi sharing it with top officials, and you can see the Foreign Secretary there, as well as the Defence Minister. Apart from others, we've seen the National Security Advisor as well, and the top echelons of the Indian military too present, and they are taking stock of, I believe, that they're taking stock of the situation. You can see all the three wings of the armed forces represented there in these images. So a critical meeting taking place at the Prime Minister's residence. This meeting follows the announcement of stoppage of firing and military action that has taken place and has been put in force at 5 p.m. as a result of Pakistan's DGMO reaching out to his Indian counterpart. That happened at 13:35, if I remember correctly, 13:35 hours Indian Standard Time, and this stoppage of firing and military action was put in force at 1700 hours. And now you can see this meeting, critical meeting, taking place. The Foreign Minister there as well, Dr. Jaishankar, in those images. So all the key persons in the Indian government who've been, as far as this entire situation is concerned, conducting the kind of response that India has given to Pakistan's misadventure, they're present at that meeting. General Katoch, this is of course something that perhaps was par for course, Prime Minister taking stock, but again, the kind of result that has come forth, it just tells us that it has been an all-of-government approach to bringing about this result.
Actually, I like that word. It has been an all-of-government approach, and I will even go to the extent of saying an all-of-India approach. From the government side, the political establishment, the civil bureaucracy, the military and the intelligence agencies, plus all the diplomats in all our missions abroad, got together along with civil society. And that is what really put pressure on Pakistan. It has been an all-of-government approach. And I think in future, this is the approach which we need to take. There's one more point, as far as this present meeting is concerned. I think, in my view, I think the Prime Minister would have also discussed certain courses of action to be taken over the next few days, especially in cases of how to keep Pakistan under check. And I have a feeling that this policy of compellence, which I was talking about, is going to take shape now.
Right, definitely it will take shape, is what we can draw from the kind of circumstances that Pakistan has had to face, the kind of actions that India took to ensure that every misadventure that Pakistan undertakes is completely repudiated. We're playing out those images once again. Prime Minister sharing that meeting at his residence with all the key persons involved where India's response is concerned, which has compelled Pakistan to reach out to India and then reach an understanding on stoppage of firing and military action. With that, I'm wrapping this particular segment of ours up here on DD India. My colleague Munmun Bhattacharya will be here very soon to take things forward with you. Once again, thank you, General Katoch, for staying with us, and keep watching DD India for all the latest.